Hey, friends, welcome back. I'm Chris Schultz, and this is the Analog Podcast. I am so excited to have you back with me today. We had a busy week around here. I am trying to get this thing launched, get the book out. It's almost there. I was getting some messages from the universe this week that this was probably not the week to launch it. Some of you may have been expecting a big announcement on Tuesday, but it is coming out next Tuesday. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thanks for all your support. This week, I want to talk about community. Community is something that is so important to me, and I've been feeling community this week from many of you who've been reaching out and supporting me in this launch of the new book, Analog. One of the things that is vital to anything we do in this world is a energetic feedback loop. It's really hard to put something out into the world and just do it for yourself. We need to write for myself. I have practices that I do for myself. We might create products, work at a job, but sometimes it comes down to wanting to get some feedback from people, wanting to kind of feel an energetic exchange. And this is something that I'll talk about a little bit later in the episode that happens at Cosmico, and I've learned about in producing music, the energetic uplift that we have that raises all of our vibrations. But particularly in a creative work, you work and you work and you work. I've been working on this thing for 5 years, and then you put it out into the world and boom, how do people feel about it? And I've been so touched. Some of you who've gotten your hands on this thing, whether you've stopped by the house or I've had a copy in my travels and I've left one with you. I've had all these copies that I'm reading and editing with Anne, and are starting to read it. And it's pretty cool to feel, wow, this is opening up so much of my life. I've worked very hard to be vulnerable in this and tell stories, be entertaining, be fun, but let people in on my life in a way that just knowing me, you may not hear me talk about all that much. So that's starting to come back to me, and I really appreciate the feedback that I'm getting. I'm eagerly anticipating and also certainly a little nervous about how the world will respond, how you will respond when you see this next week, when you get your hands on it, as well as to this podcast. I've been hearing from many of you who it's been very touching to me to hear that you're watching it and listening and tuning in, and particularly if there's nuggets or things that are meaningful to you in your life or practices that you're starting to incorporate. That's great. That's why I'm doing it. So anyway, I appreciate that. This creative work has been my first real creative work in my career of putting something out into the world like this. And boy, it is amazing how much work goes into this. One of the things I did was I didn't give myself a deadline at all on this process. 5 year Took 5 years to write this book. I had no idea if I'd ever do it when I began the journey, and gave me the grace last week. You can tell when somebody's kind of nudging you in a direction, but they need you to make the decision, make the call. But she was saying there's various factors. So thanks for all your support. Back to community, us being here together. One of the things that I wanted to share is all about Launchpad in New Orleans and finding my tribe in New Orleans. A lot of this book is about the time that I spent in my life in New Orleans, 15 years. I still call New Orleans home. It's the longest place I've ever lived anywhere. And I have so many wonderful friends there. And what made it so special was that there was a giving and receiving to me and my time in New Orleans through a community. And after Katrina, I realized that I had the opportunity to join a tribe of people and that other people were looking for the same thing. Entrepreneurs, geeks, techies, people who wanted to gather. This was at the beginning of social media where we could start to find our tribe before it kind of went down the tubes, all in service of the mighty algorithm and dollar, but where we could find each other. That energy led to Launchpad and wanting to create a co-working space where we could have a community working under the same roof, working on different things. We all had different businesses, different jobs, different careers, but we were working together and felt that humanity of being in the same room and giving each other hugs and handshakes in the morning. And that was such a important part of my time in New Orleans, and so much of that is reflected in this book. In fact, I think building community is one of the most powerful marketing tools you can create. It's not talking about your product. If we were talking about our product with Launchpad, we would have been talking about desks and chairs and Wi-Fi. That's boring. It's talking about people. It is helping people. It is lifting people up. We had a mantra, our members are our magic. And the most important and interesting part of Launchpad was what all of our members were doing. And we had this intentional method of sharing what people are doing, trying to help people. My North Star for Launchpad was trying to help people figure out what problems they were having and solve them. And that was the way I became an entrepreneur enabler and had the opportunity to work with so many startups and entrepreneurs. One of the principles that we employed is this idea of give first. Anytime you're joining a community, you're coming into a new environment, give of yourself first versus trying to receive. And that has come back to me in so many ways over my career and my life, trying to be of service, trying to help people, trying to support people. That's what a community is all about. Humble and with a goal of supporting each other. That is really what made Launchpad so special and magic and why it worked. I wanted to contrast give first with this idea of gatekeeping. It's more of a recent phenomenon and awareness that we have where people will limit your access to various people who could help you. I have asked for some help when reaching out to some authors, some people who I wanted to get in touch with, and gotten a response of, no, I'm not willing to do that. To me, that gatekeeping is just not reflective of a value of community and supporting and lifting each other up. I hope that you are a enabler and a supporter of community. Limit your gatekeeping because it's not a zero-sum game, folks. We all grow, and any gift I've ever given of supporting somebody else has come back to me tenfold when I've opened up my network and my ears and tried to support people. The best communities aren't built by strategy, they're built by generosity. The spirit that I want to share with you that made Launchpad so magic. And it wasn't just me by any means, it was everybody in a community. That's what's amazing about having a core value, and the leaders and the founders of a community kind of get the privilege of establishing the core values, and establishing core values is such an important thing. But if you set this core value of generosity, there's going to be a reciprocity that comes back to you and comes back to everyone in the community. And that's that energetic vibration, the magic of community, where you're lifting everybody up and growing. So that was sort of the Launchpad story. I talk a lot more about that in Analog. A lot of good chapters on Launchpad. And if anybody from the Launchpad community is watching right now, thank you. And those were wonderful times. Thanks for supporting all of us along the way. Now let's talk about a new community. You're sensing a thread here. Cosmico is something that Ann and I started more than 5 or 6 years ago now, but the last 3 years has really turned into something. And it's a gathering, it's a reunion of sorts where the tribes of people in our lives come back and gather for a celebration and ceremony, a weekend of uplifting each other. We are intentionally creating a community of things that we love and love supporting and being a part of and having in our lives music and musicians, wine and winemakers, artisans and makers, and people creating amazing things, food and chefs and foodies all coming together to create this amazing gathering. And it really is a cosmic community. It's a community that something magic happens when we are all there gathered on those grounds. One of the things that I've learned about over the last few years, and this relates to music, but I want to tie it back to all communities, is this idea of artists and musicians and the literal sound vibration of playing music. And you've probably noticed, if you've been to a show, you certainly have noticed at Cosmico, that sometimes when a band walks on stage and those first notes, it's the first set, it might be early, and they're really putting themselves out there. There's a lot of vulnerability walking onto the stage and playing. So many musicians know this feeling. And then you hear the first person starting to sing, or that's why we clap at the end of sets. Next step, you're dancing. There's a real energetic exchange. The music is being played by the musician, is hitting your ears. You're sending energy back through your vibrations, through your singing and dancing and raising of spirits. And it's with that frequency exchange, with that energetic exchange, that's what makes the magic happen. That lifts the spirits, that lifts all of us, raises us all to a higher vibration. And that is such a good analogy for what community is all about. It lifts everybody up. Be a part of it and be an active participant. You can't just stand there and listen to music. I don't know. Do I like this or not? This is why rooms, when musicians are playing and everybody's going and chatting in the corner or getting a beer and not paying any attention, there's not an energetic exchange. It's a much better show when people are locked in and vibing, lifting each other up. It takes all of us participating, lifting each other up, receiving energy from each other. And that is exactly what we're trying to do with Cosmico. We are trying to support all of the musicians that play at Cosmico, the musicians in our orbit, the musicians, whether they've been at Cosmico or not, that we love, the winemakers. Everybody in this world needs some support right now, particularly if you're in a creative field, if you're in a creative pursuit. And so we focus on independent winemakers, many of our friends in Sonoma County. We're trying to get them some love, get people tasting their wines, give them opportunities to build passionate wine lovers and fans and enthusiasts. Same thing with all the chefs and the artisans. We want to showcase the bounty of what Sonoma County has, what our community has, what the cosmic community has. Cosmico is an opportunity to bring people together and expose each other and support each other. And I think that is what keeps it going. So now, how do we weave in analog? Anne is currently with a group of women and her friends. 2 weeks ago, I took a trip with a group of men. We are working to begin to take more intentional and intimate experiences that are in the spirit of Cosmico with people in this community. These will have different focus areas, but please stay tuned to this, because we're building community on other times of the calendar, Cosmico in May, through analog. So we'll be talking more about that. But that's my hope for this book. My hope for this book is that this is a encapsulation what I have to give to the world right now, but it also is a new beginning of a chapter of building community once again. Going back to my old playbook, building community. We know that takes everybody. So I appreciate everybody being a part of this. I wanted to close with a reflection on an idea that I used to take a lot of pride in with Launchpad back in the day, and I still do. And this is the concept of being a first believer. And a first believer is somebody when somebody is in a state of beginning, and whether they're creating a company, whether they're creating a work of art, something creative, considering a new journey, a new path, a new job. In this world, we get a lot of critiques. We have a lot of people who may be naysayers. There might be people who think we should be on some path, whether it's parents, friends, a spouse, a boss. And they don't necessarily encourage risk taking. They don't necessarily encourage creation. So we hear a lot of no's. We hear a lot of that'll never work. One of the things that I learned to do through Launchpad was look for opportunities where I could be somebody's first believer and support them. It can start as small as saying, I believe in you. Go do that. You can't imagine how much that means to somebody who's about to put themselves out there and who's just put themselves out there by sharing that idea with you. It can span into more of a getting behind it. And that could be buying a service from a service provider that's thinking about striking out on their own as a freelancer. That could be supporting a new restaurant in town. That could be coming on board as an employee in a new venture that somebody's creating and saying, I'm with you. Could be showing up at an event, buying a ticket. It's always a good look to be one of the first to buy a ticket. Lots of people buy the ticket at the end, buying the ticket at the beginning. Now that's a first believer. And I can tell you it means a lot when people do that. A wonderful way to enrich your life. It has enriched mine immensely. One of the greatest gifts I receive from people is when I hear from them, Chris, when I pitched you on something, when I spent a little time with you, you told me to go for it. You encouraged me. You nudged me. You enabled me to do it. That's such a gift. Again, this exchange, when you give first, when you believe in somebody, the rewards come back to you. Believe me, they do. So in closing, because this is probably the last time we're together before my book comes out, I wanted to offer my appreciation in advance to everyone who has already bought my book. Many of you pre-ordered it. Actually, I think on some of you Kindles, it was delivered this week. So you actually have a copy. Many of you will be hearing from me through emails and maybe a text message or two asking you to buy my book next week. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that support. Everybody who is giving me feedback right now, it's that energetic exchange. I'm putting something out in the world that's new for me. This is a new expression, both writing a book and this podcast. If you stop me, come up to me, send me a text message and say, hey, I saw you, I got your email. I spent 1 second on it. I looked at it briefly. I haven't watched your podcast yet. I'm on page 38 of your book, whatever. That's fine. Any touch point with me means so much. So I want to thank you. You guys are my first believers right now. Next week, when we meet again, this book is going to be out. That is going to feel good. Yeah. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you on this podcast. Thanks so much for all your support. And I love you, and we'll see you on the other side of this book launch and see you next week.